My name is Matt Downs. I'm a professional sports bettor, and I've made over $550,000 sports betting. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. Just stay to the very end, and you're going to uncover all the strategies that I personally use. These strategies are done over various different sports books, including Prizepicks, Underdog, Fliff, FanDuel, DraftKings. If you haven't heard of these sports books, that's completely fine. The goal here is to use as many different sports books as possible. This strategy doesn't involve watching games, doing any kind of research. It simply just involves comparing numbers and using math to beat the sports books. Now, I happen to live in Florida, and I've won so much on various sports books, including Hard Rock, which happens to be the only technical sports book in Florida, that they've limited me. And what that means is, if you guys look on your screen, if I were to simply bet any kind of wager, we'll take the Thunder -5, for example. It says that my wager exceeds the maximum, which is $34.50. That simply means that the sports books have limited my upside, and they haven't allowed me to put down as much as I possibly can because I consistently have an edge against Hard Rock Sportsbook. In other words, I've won so much money from Hard Rock that they eventually just said, you know what, we're not going to allow this guy to bet any more than what our risk threshold is allowing us to do. And that happened to be about $13,566. This was taken last year. I bet a little bit more since this screenshot. But, you know, as you can see here, this was a monthly screenshot, I believe from November, one of my best months last year. And you can see from the amount of volume, the amount of different sports books that I use. And I'm going to be taking you through the exact math that I'm going to be using to beat sports books and show you exactly how to use this strategy long term. You guys will also notice that some of these sports books aren't always going to allow the best edges, right? On Rebet, on this exact same month, I actually lost $3,000. But again, I made more on the other sports books to outweigh the net losses there. Same thing with Bettor. It looks like I lost $619, but I won $5,400 on Fliff. As long as you keep the volume up, your results can look something very similar to this. Now, going back to my Hard Rock Sportsbook account, you guys can see here on the screen, if I try putting $200 on Lou Dort to score over 8.5 points, I'm actually only limited to $3.30 for that exact bet. That's because I was able to find more of an edge when betting on player props as opposed to game markets. And again, the sportsbooks are simply doing this because you're beating them long term. This is why I encourage you to use a lot of different sportsbooks. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact strategy and math behind how to beat the sportsbooks long term. I'm going to show you exactly what sportsbooks to use, what to look at. And again, this is going to require little time daily to bet on sportsbooks. No research, no watching games, simply just looking at the prices and betting the best value props. The exact strategy that I'm going to be going through today is called plus EV betting. The goal of plus EV betting is to simply take advantage of the value props that you see that have a better price than the entire rest of the market. To break this down even further, all you're doing is you're simply taking advantage of the best price when comparing to the rest of the market. You do this daily when walking into a supermarket. You're always price comparing. You're always comparing the price of your foods, of the drinks you buy. You do this in every walk of life, when you're buying a car, when you're buying a house. And that's exactly what professional sports bettors do. They simply look at the market and take advantage of the best priced odds. Now, I have in front of me another sports book that's available in Florida. If you guys have Prizepicks available in your state, highly recommend it. Why? Because they actually offer very competitive pricing, and it's very easy to take advantage of their lines and the prices that they offer. Unlike normal sports books where they show the American odds right next to the exact projection, Prizepicks actually doesn't show their odds behind their projections, right? They simply show it as a multiplier. And what I mean by that, let's go ahead and walk through an example here. Let's just pair a random over-under. It doesn't matter whether you select the over-under on this projection here from Kelly, right? He can go over or under 5.5 strikeouts. It does not matter. And then also selecting another random baseball player. It doesn't have to be baseball. It can be NBA. Whatever you choose, the payouts are not going to change on Prizepicks, right? So if you look here, it's showing that if you were to put down $100 here, it's always going to be $300 that you're going to get in winnings, right? So if I put the over on Miles Turner, this doesn't change. The under does not change, right? And this is how these fixed payouts work on this specific sports book. Other sports books that are like this, Underdog, Dabble, Bettor, any of these fantasy pick'em apps, right, that are posing as fantasy apps are actually sportsbooks when you break down the math. Now, to just further prove to you guys, this is the exact same thing, the 3x that we're getting on Prizepicks, as pairing together two minus 137 legs on a regular sportsbook like FanDuel or Hard Rock and getting the equivalent of plus 200 odds. It's plus 199 here. So we're rounding up. And since we know that each leg is minus 137 here, we can go back to Prizepicks and associate a price with the projection. But again, Prizepicks doesn't show you this on the surface. We have to uncover this. Step one into becoming a plus EV bettor is to understand the underlying price associated with the projections that we're betting on. Why would you ever buy a product without knowing the price? And the same kind of logic applies with sports betting. The next part that I want to talk about is the parlays on Prizepicks, comparing them directly to Underdog, to Dabble. Not all parlays are built the same. We just uncovered that a two-man parlay on Prizepicks pays out at plus 200 odds. And those average leg odds break down to minus 137, right? So what about a three-man parlay, a four-man parlay, a five-man parlay with insurance, a five-man parlay? All of these have different underlying prices. As a plus EV bettor, you want to take advantage of the best price available at all times. So as you can see here, a three-man parlay on Prizepicks pays out 6x. Let's actually break that down further and see the math when looking at the average percent odds to hit and the average odds that are associated with that parlay. Me as a bettor, I want to know exactly what average odds each one of those player props are being offered at. So if this parlay were to hit on Prizepicks, I'd be turning $100 into $600, which is the same thing as 6x, right? Or the exact same as plus 500 odds. And the average leg price is going to be about minus 122 and some change. That means as a plus EV bettor, I know for a fact that I'm getting average odds per leg at minus 122 in a three-leg parlay. Substantially better than the minus 137 price tag that I'm getting for a two-man parlay on the exact same platform. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go through every single parlay and calculate the odds to bore you. I'm going to simply tell you the exact best slip types on Prizepicks so that you can take advantage of the best prices available. Now, Prizepicks has just recently upgraded from their 5x to 6x with their three-man parlays. So you're actually getting substantial value when betting on three-man parlays. Pretty much what I'm trying to communicate to you guys is to always try to bet three-man parlays over two-man parlays if you can. The best odds overall are going to be in your 5-flex format and your 6-flex format, which the average odds are going to be about minus 118 and some change. If you happen to be in a peer-to-peer state like Florida, you can actually get minus 116 odds and a 6-flex slip. The insurance is just minimally better in these peer-to-peer states. So if you're in a regular pick'em state, you're getting about minus 119. And if you're in a peer-to-peer state, an arena state is what they call it, you're getting minus 116 odds. So just to recap here, if you're looking for a quick hitter, if you're looking for the best bang for your buck slip, don't even go to a two-man parlay. Don't go to a four-man parlay. If you can only find 3 plays, I'd stick to your 3-man parlays because they're offering minus 122 odds. If you happen to find 5 picks or 6 picks, you always want to play those slip types with the added insurance. Now that we know the associated price with all these projections on Prizepicks, let's take it a step further and actually talk about the plus EV strategy and how to utilize the strategy long term. What you see in front of you is a website called upside.tools. And this is a website where it simply compares the value across many different sportsbooks. Since I have the Prizepicks tab highlighted and I have it clicked, you're going to see all the Prizepicks projections to the very top of the page. To the right side, you're going to see all the sports books that we're comparing back to Prizepicks' projection and their price point. So just to take a look here, we actually have Jalen Williams set to 3.5 total free throws made. If you guys look on the left side of the column here, in the projection, you see a 3.5, and then you also see the price associated at minus 116. So we're treating all these projections as if they are at minus 116 because that's the best price that you can get on Prizepicks, and we're assuming that you're going to be playing a 6-flex on Prizepicks, right? But if you're playing a 3-man, you're going to associate this to a minus 122 price point. Regardless, you're going to compare across the market, and this is exactly how to utilize the strategy. If we look on the far right here, we have a competing product, Underdog, who associated a minus 317 price with this exact same projection. This is a horrible price. This is a substantially better price. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to take it a step further and show you the exact percent odds to hit when comparing directly to underdog and what underdog's price is associated with this player prop and how you can visually see this, right? So minus 317 here on the under at 3.5 is the associated price on underdog. The over price, all the way here at the bottom, 3.5, is set to plus 104. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the no-vig calculator again on upside, and we're going to break this down in terms of devigging the line. Devigging, we're just taking out the added juice from the vig that underdog is charging to break this down into a true percentage. Prizepicks, because they're a fixed payout platform and the prices do not change whether you select the over or under, when you devig minus 116 on both sides, you're getting an exact 50% chance to hit, right? So if underdog is associating a different percent odds to hit with this exact same prop, there you can find an edge with a 1-to-1 comparison. By heading over to the no-vig calculator on upside.tools, you guys can see here I have the over set to minus 317 and the under set to plus 104. When you devig those odds, you're getting a 60.8% chance on the under and a 39.2% chance on the over. Basically, with those associated price tag, underdog is simply saying, hey, I believe that the under is going to hit at a 60.8% clip, while the over, I believe, has a 39.2% chance to hit. But Prizepicks is simply saying, hey, I believe this is a 50% prop. And what we're doing on underdog is heavily favoring the under. So if you directly compare 60.8% back to the 50% coin flip chance that Prizepicks is giving it, you can see that there's an edge. Underdog heavily disagrees with Prizepicks in the terms of an actual percent odds to hit for this exact same player prop. And that's really all we're doing, is we are price comparing and finding those major discrepancies. Because unlike the stock market, the sportsbook market is highly inefficient, and you can find price discrepancies like this long term to take advantage of. So if you guys look at another example here, Shane Baez, right? Total pitching strikeouts. I don't know if that's how you actually pronounce his last name, but it doesn't matter because all we're observing is the actual price tag associated with this Prizepicks line, right? And we compared 1-to-1 here, Jalen Williams, with his player prop directly to underdog. But right now, let's compare to FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars. And what the tool does is it brings the top, most inefficient prices on Prizepicks so that you can take advantage of without having to scramble to different sports books. So you can see here, FanDuel for the under for Shane Baez's pitching strikeouts, they're offering a minus 146 price tag. DraftKings a minus 135, Caesars minus 137. They're heavily favoring the under, whereas Prizepicks is still viewing this as a 50-50 shot. So now the strategy becomes incredibly simple. Just look at the top mispriced odds and then put them into a Prizepicks slip offering the best prices. Since we know that a 5-flex and 6-flex slip offer the best prices, we're going to try to find at least 6 different player props that we can put into a parlay. So if we look here, Shane Baez would be the number one option, right? Has a lot of book support and clearly has an edge, a 1.06% edge. Let's go ahead and throw in Jalen Williams as well. And Veronica Burton looks like on flip, heavily favoring the over at 4.5 total assists. And as I put this slip together, I've noticed something else. Veronica Burton is not set to 4.5 assists anymore. She's actually set to 5. Why? Because Prizepicks has noticed that their price that they're associating with that 4.5 assist line is actually not that accurate. Other sharp sports bettors have pushed this projection up. So the edge is no longer here. So I'm going to avoid the 5 assist line. And this shows you how quickly you have to put in these slips and how important it is to have a market comparison tool like Upside. And because these lines are getting removed and these projections are getting removed from Prizepicks, I'm just sticking to the 3-man. And I'm going to say, hey, like this parlay, since we know minus 122 is associated with a 3-man parlay and time is an issue, I'm going to go ahead and settle for this slip type. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in because minus 122 odds are still substantially better than all of these other prices that are being associated across the market. But that's really all you guys need to know about plus EV betting. And that's exactly how to take advantage, especially on a platform like Prizepicks. Now, what's really cool is that you can take advantage of positive EV betting across various other sportsbooks, not just on Prizepicks, but you can also do it on Underdog. You can do it on Sleeper. And again, I highly encourage you, if you guys have these sportsbooks available in your state, to download them and take advantage of them today. The more sportsbooks you have access to, the more opportunities, the more potential opportunities you have to take advantage of positive EV plays. There might be value plays on Prizepicks that you don't see on Underdog. There might be value plays on Fliff that will never appear on DraftKings. and each sportsbook is setting their own prices and own discrepancies at their discretion. A really good example of this is actually Fliff, where you can see here on the screen there's so many positive EV plays because they're simply mispricing some niche markets like total home runs and stolen bases. So again, if you guys want access to this, I'll go ahead and put the link in the description. Feel free to sign up for Upside. Now, there's one last concept that I want to talk about in this video, and that is the limiting of these sports books and possibly an alternative solution for people who are sharp sports bettors like myself, right? The one thing I mentioned earlier in this video is the fact that Hard Rock pretty much limits me to pennies with certain markets, right? But we want another sustainable solution that allows you to scale your bankroll, right? And that's why I highly recommend, if you guys look here at the banner to the right side of my webcam here, you'll see Epic. It's called Epic Fantasy. And what it is it's simply the exact same thing as a Prizepicks or Underdog or Dabble, all these fixed payout platforms that's available in 38 states where you can scale your bankroll, because what you're doing is when you're putting together these slips, the first thing is, one, projections do not change. But the second thing is that you're paid out based on the performance comparatively to other peers, not the sports book. So you have the ability as a sharp sports bettor to scale your bankroll. Highly recommend downloading Epic Fantasy today. If you use code Matt, you'll get a 5% match up to $1,000. One of the best scalable solutions that you can use. And again, a very good alternative to the normal against the house sportsbook model. But that's going to go ahead and wrap this up. And hopefully you learned something today. If you did, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of my future sports betting content.